your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 199, baby. Let's go. It is hard to believe. Another clap song. Because why the heck not? And I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vault, Shield. Gosh, you know, I can't get over it, but it's been a while. So, how's it going, Shield?
It's going fantastic. This has already been somewhat of the fastest and slowest week possible. Of course, coming off the 4th of July holiday weekend. No concept of time. Don't know what day it is, where we are in the universe right now. But yet we have a show here tonight. And I'm hoping it's a good one. And hopefully the rest of the week just flies right on by, too.
That is the goal. That's kind of what we want because there's a lot going on. Voldy, we've got some announcements to start off the show today. Mm-hmm. As you heard in the beginning, there is a number, and that number is approaching, and that will be next week. Yes, the 200th episode of MinneZona Sports Live will be going next Wednesday. I can't wait to get it going. I can't believe it. I mean, we've said it, you know, a ton of times. Even before the show, we always say, well, we do. I guess we always say it. But it's just a blast to know, hey, we've made it to 200 episodes. Yeah, we've had some hiatuses, but, you know, again, we've got things going on. You guys got things going on, too. So we've made it to 200. Voldy, let's talk about some of the things that are going to happen for this show. So, in honor of the 200th episode, Voldy and I have decided, and I think we've already mentioned this, we will have an open Zoom link, phone line, whatever type of thing. We want the zoners to come in and get of the full experience. People that have not been on this show, people that have been on this show. We're gonna filter in as many people as we can. Now,
plan accordingly.
With that being said, with that going on, zoners will have to be somewhat patient because there are a lot of people that want to hop on the show and they want to talk with us. So keep that in mind for next week. And not only are we doing something like that, but Voldy, can you tell us what we're going to be doing as well for the zoners? What do you got?
We are doing a giveaway. That's right. We're giving away stuff here next week as well. Should we let them know what we're giving away or let that still be a surprise?
You know what? Let's do the surprise thing. Yeah, let's do the surprise thing.
They know the deal. The thing is,
too. So 4. We'll give you a number 4. For how much stuff we can be giving. It could be stickers. It could be something else. You never know. So
could be a brand new car.
It could be a brand spanking new car. And whether or not you like it, well, it's too bad. If you don't like it, well,
you can take my old car. So, I mean, that's fine. You can take an old car. I'll take cash for it. So,
yeah. There's options. Plenty of options. So that will be going on next week. We want as many zoners to hop on with us as possible. It'll be kind of weird kind of show, but we're going to do some MinneZona trivia too, because we all know you love listening to us. We all know that you love commenting in. You are why we do this, and we want to hear from you. So not in the, you can go in the chat, but we want you live. We want you to talk with us, and we can talk whatever you guys want. It just got to be sports. I mean, this is a sports show, right? So we got that going. Now, with that being said, we also have some, slightly a little bit smaller, some big news, but there is something going on with DJ Batty C. There is a lot of studios that we have. Studio A was the Kerf Doctor's humble abode. Studio B was my humble abode in Granite Falls there. And this is Studio C. So this is AKA my parents' basement. Don't blame me. But now, finally, there will be a Studio D. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Matty C is back, has his own place. There's going to be a lot of cool things happening. We're calling it Lexington Heights Studios. So that will be the new studio for me, at least. And we got to get the intro updated too. So we got to call our guy Austin up or message, I should say, and get that voiceover from our guy. So we will be doing that. And what a way to kick off the 200th episode with a new studio. So Studio D. Crazy. Studio D is what we got for that. So, and before we move on to our regular scheduled programming, things are looking kind of nice for DJ Matty C over here. Yes, it is a webcam. Look at that. Hello. Whoa. A little bit clearer, right? I hope so. I decided just to get one because we want to up the quality. And this background, we all know it could use some work. And guess what? With the new place, it's going to look pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we cannot wait to get that going. So a lot of things happening to start off the show. So we had to get it to you, the zoners. So that being said, Voldy, we've got some stuff to talk about after a 1 week hiatus. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed your 4th of July. And the Minnesota Twins, Carloscorrea is going to the All-Star game. Yes, he has been on fire. I mean, ever since the end of last season, too. So we'll talk about that. And Josemiranda, AL Player of the Week. Voldy's guy, he is back at it again. Good for him. That's what we need. So, talk about that. The next thing that we'll talk about is the Minnesota Timberwolves, their offseason, the guys that they drafted. We talked a little bit about it 2 weeks ago with robdillingham. So, we will talk more about that and with Terrence Shannon as well. And joeingles is now a Timberwolf. So, we'll quick talk about that. Yeah, it is. It is absolutely crazy. And to end things off with that, we'll talk about that with the Wolves and things going on. And then no special segment tonight because since we got the special happening, that's what we're going to save it for. So we're going to do a little trivia. We're going to do our table topics as well for next week. Forgot to mention that. But now you know. ARAs. We got a lot of ARAs this week. We got the Wild and their free agency moves. We got Ant, number one option for Team USA. We'll chat about that. New MLB home run derby format. Talk about that. LeBronjames' son drafted by the Lakers, and LeBron re-signs with the Lakers. And Archie Manning back in NCAA Football 25. I got some things to say about that. And, of course, you know the deal. Shield shoutouts at the end. So, Voldy, let's get it going. We've talked a little too much for the intro, but it was warranted. It was warranted. So, let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
know the deal. It's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. And we start off with the Minnesota Twins. You know, Voldy, it'd be nice to actually being able to watch these damn Twins, and apparently we cannot because of those damn poll ads. But we all know the deal. So the Twins are starting they're getting a little bit of on a roll here, Voldy. They're starting to, climb back into the AL Central a little bit. And it's what's helped is one, Carloscorrea. He is now an all-star for the Minnesota Twins. Now, he has had a terrific season so far. He's definitely, his on-base percentage is high. His batting average is actually one of the best of his career. His defense has been great as well. I think this is absolutely positively much deserved. And, he had a couple all-star games with the Astros, I believe 2015 and 2017 and 2021, if I'm not mistaken. If my stupid page will come here. There we go. 2017, 2021 with the Astros, and now he's an all-star again. So, Zoners and Voldy, what are your thoughts on Carloscorrea getting back to the all-star game?
I think it's also a nice little feather in the cap because obviously returning to the state of Texas, obviously he made his, his start of his career in Houston, but being back in Texas is good. Obviously there will be a lot of vested fans there. There'll be hopefully a good turnout of fans for the likes of Correa, and I don't know about his buddy Altuve or not, but nonetheless, it'll be good for him. You wish that the Twins would get a little bit more recognition, especially as of late. But if the Twins were playing the way that they were as of late at the start of the season, there would definitely be a lot more recognition in that regard. Meanwhile, you've got Cleveland that's sending 5 starters or something like that. It's completely ridiculous in my mind. That's a whole nother soapbox that I need to stand on as well. Because, just because they're up 9 games in the Central or 7 games or whatever from last time I checked the standings as well, it doesn't exactly mean that your team is the best to be out there. But I'm part of Correa, battling injury the last season and a half too, and just getting a lot more consistency health-wise is definitely something that is a lot better for him. And now getting that recognition because, we know the prowess that he has defensively, now really starting to solidify a lot of things offensively, like hitting a home run today and the second game of the doubleheader, which is going on right now. Or actually, they won that game, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they won 3-2.
Yep.
Him and Brooks Lee, both hit home runs. So, yeah, that's obviously great to see that with that youth core talent coming through in a big way. But having Correa being an all-star is good for the Twins. Just wish there was going to be a little bit more.
Right, and there is a possibility that some other Twins might make the all-star team as well as reserves. And we'll talk about that in a second. But this is the Carloscorrea that we've wanted ever since, the first time when he did sign with us. That's what we were kind of looking for. And he didn't have a great start last season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And I think that's what kind of hurt him a little bit. I think his mentality has kind of shifted because now there was a time where I was even questioning. It's like we're paying all this money for him to strike out and, not hit the frickin' ball. Like, come on, let's go here. And he's responded very well, especially in those in the playoff series against the Astros and even the Blue Jays. So I like the way that he's approached everything this season. He started off great. He's hitting home runs. He's getting a lot of RBIs for the squad. And this kind of shows like, hey, if you want to be competitive, especially for this team, you gotta make some splashes. And we always talk about it. We don't need to go over it really because we've been proven right X amount of times. So, congratulations to Carlos Correa. Much deserved. And we can't wait to see what he does in the All-Star game. Now, let's just get to some other guys that we're kind of looking at, too, because there are some other names that might make it for the reserves. And Voldy, I wish that, and again, like we said before, I wish I could watch him because I could make a better educated guess, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can only get updates. So, Joe Ryne is a name on here in this article that could possibly be in the All-Star game. Do you think that Joe Ryne should, get the nod there in the All-Star game as a reserve?
Yeah, I think so. Just the way the first half of the season, like the first half of the season really started out, especially with, him being kind of the impact starter for the Twins coming into this year to be that quote unquote, ace, if you will. Him and Pablo Lopez obviously going back and forth with that regard, but Joe Ryne obviously being the younger of the two is something you want to look at. Unfortunately, the way that it kind of lines up with the series, the final series going into All-Star break with San Francisco coming up, doesn't look like he'll be able to even pitch, but I think it's still deserved because of the fact that the way the season started for him really, opened a lot of people's eyes to this young arm that has been coming up very, very steadily for the Twins over the last couple seasons.
So that's a good point because I feel like Pablo Lopez has not had a good start to the season. He has been at times brutal, and it is frustrating.
Look good in Oakland, but
yeah.
It's Oakland, so everybody looks good.
That's true.
Minus Oakland.
So
yeah.
I think having somebody that's at least somewhat stable, and Ober, yes, I said I've given up all hope, but he actually had a pretty good outing today. It's just the Twins they only scored 1 run, so compared to the White Sox 3, but he did give up a 2-run home run, which I think can be very troublesome for this team because he could get cold at any time. Mm-hmm. So we gotta be cognizant of that. But we really desperately need Lopez to start, winning some games here. Especially, we got to rely on a guy that was pretty close to lights out, and the Twins giving up Sonny Gray, that hurts as well. Here's another name that I think might pop up in the All-Star game. Our good friend, and I've always liked him, and it's a guy that I feel like he'll have his hot streaks, but then he'll kind of tamper off a little bit. But when he's on, he's on. Ryan Jeffers, our catcher. Voldy, Zoners, should he be a reserve in the All-Star game? He was kind of a lock at one point, but now it's kind of fading a little bit. What do you think?
It's been an up and down battle for Jeffers this year, to say the least. I think he was like one of the last guys in the entire league to hit a home run to start off the season, or he barely had any hits to start off, but he's really come through, defensively, and obviously being a guy that has been looked upon to kind of be the ushering era of a little bit more offense from behind the plate. We all know that Christian Vasquez has struggled offensively, but did have a nice walk-off home run against the Astros the other day. That was pretty cool. But I think Jeffers definitely deserves a solid look for sure, especially with the way that these young catchers are coming up in the American League. You've got the old guard like the Sal Perez down in KC. He's on his way out, unfortunately, seeing a lot more time at first base than catching, but he'll most likely be that backup guy for the AL. We all know Adley Rutschman's going to be the starter for the American League, but I think Jeffers would definitely be a really good complementary piece, just based off the fact that his numbers have really started to pick up as of late. June was a little bit of a struggle. Now coming into July, him kind of going back and forth a little bit in the lineup consistently. But I think there's enough there to make a case that he could definitely be a good reserve, if not, a replacement guy.
Let's hope. And the more Twins in there, the better. that'll, I mean, that hopefully people will watch it. And, as we both know, not a lot of people have in these past couple of years. So let's quick move on to another guy who has been on fire this past week. Your guy, Josemiranda, was on fire. He 12 consecutive at-bats with a base hit, 14 for 20 this past week. Claps out to him. That is what we want to see. He made history for the Minnesota Twins. This is what we've been wanting. Last year had the slump. The year before that was obviously much better. And that's what we've been waiting for. Voldy, what's with this turnaround with Josemiranda? What do you got?
You look at how last year really panned out. There was a lot of question marks to where and what you do with Josemiranda. Do you keep him at third base? Well, Royce Lewis has been hitting the cover out the ball. Okay, let's move him to first base. Well, you got a log jam at first base with 9 guys that could play first base. This year has really been a year things have really started to clear out in many areas. It started off with Royce Lewis at third base. Now you see Brooks Lee with Royce kind of going back and forth with nagging injuries left and right. You bring up the young guy. He's been hitting fairly decently for the Twins since he got the call up. But now Alex Kirilloff over at first base, which was the plan last couple of years, if not in the outfield. Well, Kirilloff's going to be lucky if he's going to be able to walk in the next couple of years with how bad his back has been in the last couple of seasons, to the point where he was just pushing all doctors aside to keep him away. But now you see how it's really start to, create opportunity. And for any baseball player, opportunity is what you need, and to make the most of it. And Miranda has made the most of it since getting called back up from AAA. Again, started off the year in AAA, maybe a couple of games here and there with the Twins, but now figured out a couple of things, what worked from 2 years ago, what didn't work last year. Now we're starting to see it. Obviously, the record of 12 consecutive base hits for him paid off in a big way with a couple of good series here and there. Now in the lineup a lot more consistently to the Miranda that we saw 2 years ago, now being a contributing factor to help the Twins really climb their way up into the standings. I mean, they've got the second wild card spot right now, and I think from what I saw, a couple of tweets here and there, the Twins have the best record, if not the second best record, since early May or something like that. They're 46-25 or something like that, or 49-25 or something ridiculous like that, which from that point in from the baseball schedule to now is the best in baseball, which is even more crazy to think about, to how sluggish they were right out of the gate.
I feel like we kind of go through this a lot with this team, but let me bring up something from last year. Last year, at around this time, the Twins were terrible. They were so bad. Yeah. Myself and Papa Callahan actually went to a game around this time last year. They were playing the Orioles, probably the best team in baseball.
They got spent. Yeah.
And they got smoked. They absolutely got smoked. And I was so disappointed. And I said, and again, I'm standing by it because I don't want to back down from it. I still think Baldelli might need to go at some point. Not saying now, but at some point here. Because, listen, when you play like that, and especially when you have these team meetings, players only meeting, it gets to a point where it's just like, I mean, are you even listening to the guy, at the same time? Right. So I'm kind of under that impression. Now, they have to be able to overcome, more now, because if they make it, and they're expected to be like, all right, you're in the mix. No, this isn't happy to be here, Twins. This is, you're going to go out and win, Twins. You try to win it. And they have some talent. The thing that I think they're lacking right now, and I think you would agree with this too, is the starting pitching needs to be a lot better. And it's always been the thorn in the side for the Minnesota Twins. Here's my issue with this whole thing. And the reason why they didn't get Sonny Gray, the reason why they didn't get some trade for somebody, a pitcher or whoever, is because they cut the payroll. Can't watch the Twins right now, obviously. And that's my biggest concern is like, listen, I don't know if you guys are going to have enough to do anything to beat these teams like the Yankees, beat these teams like the Astros. This is imperative for them to maybe make a deal at the deadline. But I'm not going to hold my breath because we all know what to expect when that time comes. It's usually a whole lot of this, So, but getting back to Miranda, that's what we've wanted. Let's keep up the hot streak with him. Let's keep this rolling even after the All-Star break. So,
yes, sir.
Congratulations to him. So, that being said, let's move on to another Minnesota team making somewhat of some noise a little bit. The Minnesota Timberwolves. They had a pretty interesting NBA draft. The Wolves trade up to the 8th spot to select one Robdillingham. And this guy's a shooter, man. He averaged 15.2 points, 47% shooting, including from 44% from three. Watch out. Yeah. And he earned SEC Six Man of the Year honors in 2023, 2024. So the Wolves go out and get a guy that is going to be, is going to learn under Mike Conley, going to, play with Ant. I mean, that's pretty sweet in itself. So let's start off with Dillingham, and we'll get to Shannon Jr. here in a second because there's a lot of controversy surrounding him, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Wolves drafting Robdillingham? And Zoners, I asked that of you as well. So what do we got?
No, I think making a move like this is saying that the Timberwolves are not content to where where they've been the last couple of years. Yes, the fact that they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and the year before that, making a run in the playoffs, knocking off the defending champions this season, I should say, in the playoffs. But definitely making a statement to say we are thankful for this past season, but we want to make that next step. We want to go to the NBA Finals and getting young talent, especially Robdillingham, because I remember hearing conversation or listening to conversation, John Calipari about Dillingham, because he was talking about, you don't want to sleep on my point guards. That's what Coach Cal talked about when it came to guys like about Dillingham, because if we've known anything about Coach Cal, that guy has pumped out point guards from the first time he stepped out on the gym floor as a coach. There's just something about it. He's like a point guard whisperer for some reason. Yeah. And a lot of his guys, they go to the NBA and they make it happen one way or another. And I think with Dillingham, there's enough of a strong base coming out of, Kentucky as a freshman to definitely build off of that as well. He's still young. There's still a little bit of that raw material in there to where he can be a very consistent, if not impact player at that point guard position coming in as a rookie. Of course, the NBA game, completely different. Now you have a teacher going from Coach Cal to Mike Conley. That's going to be a huge benefit for Dillingham, especially coming into obviously his, obviously going to be his first year in the league. I mean, you see that, average 15 points per game, 47% shooting, almost 4 assists a game. Those numbers can definitely be improved upon. Again, only 1 year in college, the one and done, whole different story as well. But still, consistent enough attack player from that point guard position is going to be a benefit, whether it be shooting or he's going to be a guy to facilitate the offense. If you need him to get 20 points, he could probably do it. But if you need him to facilitate other guys to get, 10, 15 points, 3 or 4 guys get, 10, 15 points, that's what you need out of your point guard. You don't have to be the guy every night because you've got weapons around you. And that's what the Timberwolves need, especially they need the next Mike Conley to get them from where they are to the future and build forward off that.
That is exactly right. And I when I saw that stat too, and with the 3.9 assists per game, I thought that could be improved. So this is a young kid. This is going to take some development, and this might take
Right.
a 2 to 3 year development period for him to kind of be at the level that they want him at. But again, I've been proven wrong on some other guys too. I mean, maybe he'll be an absolute stud, and maybe by the time Conley is done with his contract, and I assume, and again, who knows if he'll play, but I think once Conley retires, he's kind of the heir apparent. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. And if it doesn't work, well, then they'll just have to figure out another way to get a point guard. So I think Dillingham is going to be a must for this team. And the shooting, I think, it is key here because you mentioned with the Kentucky guys, John Wall, that's one. And so John Wall, and then when he was at Memphis, Derrick Rose, which was like the best.
Eric Gordon.
Yep. And Devin Booker. Oh my goodness.
Cat. Anthony Davis. I mean, talk about. I always bring up the
Cauley
fact
Stein. Well, but he was.
I always bring up the fact too. If college didn't have the one and done rule, and these guys had to play 4 years, could you imagine that combination of guys? Cat. Anthony Davis, John Wall, them playing all 4 years. Obviously, there would be dispersals in between. Kentucky could have won at least 3 or 4 national championships, if not in a row, with that stacked squad. I mean, I'm just saying that I have my whole thing about the one and done rule. I think it's completely dumb, but nonetheless, we get a pretty good pickup. And we gave up draft picks for guys that are in middle school right now. So you're playing with you basically traded away monopoly money. You traded away a rack of basketballs and a washing machine for Rob Dillingham. You didn't lose all that much. Now we'll see come 2030 and 2031 what those picks end up being. Who knows? Could be could be the next, I don't know, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. But right now, you didn't. You're not going to lose any sleep at night trading away for a couple middle schoolers.
So we'll see how Dillingham does this season and going into the future here. So again, this is about the future as well. So, Terrence Shannon Jr. He was. A lot of people were saying that he was probably going to the top 14.
Yeah.
Top 14 at least, but off the court incident with a woman turned out to be that this woman was out to get him. He didn't do anything wrong. No charges were brought or anything like that. And apparently this woman was making it all up from what I've heard. Okay. So the Wolves potentially have a steal here. I'm just throwing it out there because this guy who played for Illinois, he was a fifth-year senior. He ranked third in the country in scoring 23 points per game, and they got to the Elite Eight, first since 2005, and he was named to the 2024 NCAA All-East Region team. So, he's 47.5% shooting. That is very good as well. And during this whole time in the process with the trial and things like that, he has been working, and the Wolves did their homework. They, especially with the off the court incident and everything like that, I think they got a potential steal. He's 6'6". He can definitely shoot the ball. So I think this potentially, I'm not saying he will, but I think this is an absolute steal. What are your thoughts on Shannon Jr. Voldy?
When I saw that the Timberwolves got him too, I said, first off, what's wrong with him? Then I remember the the incidents that were taking place off the court, and the second thing I said was, this is a steal. This is the steal of the draft right here. Getting him into the Timberwolves fold, whether it be right away or in a combination of coming back and forth with the Iowa Wolves or just staying and being a bench guy for a year or so. I think that's going to help out Terrence Shannon in a lot of different ways. Obviously, well adjusting into the game and the NBA style how that is going to be different big time. But really the breakout years that he's had the last couple of seasons, obviously breaking the single season scoring record at Illinois. I mean, he came from Texas Tech as well. That breakout year that they did have with Illinois in their run in the national tournament is a big help for the fifth year guy coming out of college. I think it's definitely going to be maybe a combination of, seasoning a little bit for him, get some reps underneath him, and at least get accustomed to that style of the NBA. But I think this is definitely, we're going to be talking about in a couple of years how this could very well be the steal of draft or be in that same position that, that we got with Kyle Anderson, a guy that really stepped up this past season for the Timberwolves. We could very well see Shannon jump in that and fill that role here in the near future.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's our next thing. Perfect segue. But again, Shannon, potential steal here. I mean, this definitely could be. So here's the Wolves didn't do much after that though. But the only thing that we can bring up in this sense is the Wolves did sign Joe Ingles. They signed him.
Baby!
Let's go. Or wait, no, that's not it. There we go. I'm blanking out here on my buttons. So they go out and get Joe Ingles, and Kyle Anderson goes to the Golden State Warriors, I believe, right? 3-year deal. Good thing of cash, I think, too. He is a little bit on the older side, 37 years old. Yeah. But again, this is a guy that's seasoned, experienced, and everything like that. And also a very solid three-point shooter, so don't let him get hot. And that's what they need is a shooter. So, Voldy, how are we feeling about Joe Ingles?
We had a role to fill with this team, and that role was hopefully going to be filled by Garza in a couple of years, if not the next season or two. We need the big, goofy white guy on the Timberwolves. We got it with Slow-Mo and Joe Ingles. Huge pickup. Yes, he is 36. Numbers not as strong as they have been in seasons past, but I feel like it's not always about what you can do on the court. Maybe off the court is what we're looking at here with this signing, knowing the fact that it is going to be one of those guys, be an impact player off the court, if not chemistry-wise, or just kind of filling a role, kind of guiding some of these younger guys to make, again, that next step forward with this Timberwolves squad. Sometimes you need a little bit of a character in the locker room. Yes, we know the character being filled with Anthony Edwards and even, Cat at times too. But those guys have the character to go along with, I'm going to go out here and get my 35 in the first half, maybe end up with 50. I don't know. We'll see what happens. With Ingles, he's got the character, maybe make a couple of nice moves here and there once every about 3 or 4 games, but maybe fill in some garbage time situations, if not give these guys a rest at the same time. I think this move certainly, you lose Kyle Anderson. It was going to be tough to try and pick him back up, especially after the season they had. I think with Ingles, it's more about getting that more veteran experience with this young squad in tow as well.
So, like you said, the age thing, I think people need to kind of look past at this point because we just this is like the third time I've said it, but they need the guy from the outside, a shooter from the outside, and Ingles brings that. And Slow-Mo, he didn't attempt many threes because it takes him a while to get the ball up there and out. But you saw the flashes, like he was definitely like scoring at points where we thought he'd never be able to do that, and Kyle Anderson would. But I feel like he might not be as good defensively. Ingles might not be as good defensively, but I think he gives you that offensive presence that the Wolves have needed for a little bit at that position. I feel like he can guard. He can. I don't think he'll be a specific liability on defense. So I think he is going to be hopefully very good, coming off the bench, knocking down some threes because we desperately need that as well because like we saw against the Mavs, I mean, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. So, but Ingles comes in, and again, you have to give up more Monty Morris, which sucks. Jordan McLaughlin, I think it was time to kind of move on from him too. So, that leaves a void there. So it comes down to young guys like, Terrence Shannon and Jalen Clark, who they drafted last year, to kind of step up. So this is going to be crucial for the Wolves. How deep can they go in their bench? And you mentioned Luka Garza. Well, we're happy that he is back too. So Luka Garza back with the Wolves, and I think he's going to get more minutes this year, Voldy. I really do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we'll keep an eye on that. So, all right, that's what we got for Hot Take tonight. A lot to talk about with the Twins and the Wolves. Not a whole lot going on above that. Obviously, the Vikings, our Minnesota Vikings, will be starting up training camp very soon, and the Wild probably, in the fall here starting up, and who knows, they might make a couple moves. We'll be talking about that in ARA actually coming up here. So we got that coming up with the Wild free agency moves. We got Ant talking about how he's the number one option for Team USA. We'll talk about that. New home run derby format, and LeBron James' son drafted by the Lakers, and LeBron signs with the Lakers as well. And Archie Manning back in NCAA Football 25. I got some thoughts on that too. So, Voldy, I say we get it going with some Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right. Yes, no special segment tonight, but let's get it going with some Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle it off for us, please?
Well, since we were last on, a couple of things have taken place. Of course, the NHL draft and the start of NHL free agency on the Canada Day first holiday that did happen, and did include a couple of moves, but a very quiet offseason thus far for the Minnesota Wild. Not a lot of moves being made. A lot of the top-end guys signing early, making their way, mostly a lot of guys to Nashville of all places, but that is even scary to think about considering the Wild will play Nashville quite a bit this upcoming season. But the Wild did make a few moves that did include, obviously, some draft capital to go along with it, one of which being, of course, acquiring from the Boston Bruins Jacob Lauko, and to go along with a draft pick in that selection from the draft in exchange for a different draft pick in the draft, as well as forward Vinny Lettieri, obviously a Minnesota native, the grandson of Lou Nanne in that mix at that. So swap for players and picks in that one. Wild get a younger forward in that position who had been a nice piece for the Bruins in the last season plus. But beyond that, not a whole lot to really write home about for the Minnesota Wild when it came to the start of free agency, and not even really making a deal well after the fact. Only really big signing that did take place for the Wild, just had it right in front of me here a second ago. They did sign out of Colorado Yakov Trenin, a 4-year, $14 million contract. Again, not a huge overall splash from a guy that really hasn't been an overall consistent threat, but still young enough to maybe be a guy that could step in a big way here for the Wild for the next over 4 years. Losing a couple of guys here and there, returning a couple of younger guys in that sense. They did re-sign Declan Chisholm and Adam Braska to entry-level contracts, if not the next step up for those guys that still are young in their career. But again, we've seen the Wild in the past get burned by some of these big contracts that have not paid off in many different areas and are still feeling the burn from said past contracts as well. Is it absurd or approved with these moves being made? Will they help the Wild get back in the playoff picture for this upcoming season?
It's a great question. I didn't hear of these guys until Billy G made these moves, so I'll be honest from that front. But listen, from what we've been talking about and for the past, like, I don't know, like month, maybe even longer, is that they're waiting for next year to maybe make a splash or two, because I think fans are getting restless with this team, and they're trying to trust the process with Billy G, and the moves that they have made so far have actually been, add some depth. You have some guys that can come in there and, that can play well and whatnot. But it's hard for me to think that they can make the playoffs next year, because I just think they need so much more, and you're not going to land a guy like Stamkos or anybody like that, because obviously he went to Nashville.
Unfortunately.
And with these contracts, like we've been saying, is like after this, it's kind of like it's time to finally batten down the hatches, get this thing rolling, get this thing going, for goodness sake. So fingers crossed on that front. But one thing that, and Voldy, you'll have to help me on this, because I've already forgotten his name, but there was a guy that the Wild drafted, and I believe he is an offensive defenseman. The guy from Denver, I believe. What's his name?
Yes, he has a name.
Yeah, that's a name. But apparently,
Give me a second. I should be able to get that.
Apparently this guy is supposed to be an offensive defenseman that's going to make a difference here, and that's what the Wild have needed for a while.
Right.
They said he could be a big staple for this team, and I believe Billy G moved up, if I'm not mistaken, to get him. Correct. So that kind of tells us they might be in business here. So the hope is that he's able to stick with us, kind of be that guy that you can rely on the defensive end, and be able to score from as well. So I think that's what they've needed for a while now. So I'm just throwing it in here too, Voldy. Zeev. Oh yeah, Zeev. How do you do the last name here?
I would have to look at
Biunum?
Right in front of me here.
Oh man.
Byam.
Zeev Byam's apparently a guy that they're really excited about. So that's kind of the hope here for the Minnesota Wild. But as you said, with some of these moves, I don't know too much about the guys, but here's what I'll say is that hopefully I know their names next this upcoming season, because they're going to need it. And if I don't, well, that just shows, they didn't stay very long. So, I think it's absurd. I don't think they'll get to the playoffs with the moves that they've made. But this Zeev Bynum, I think, will be all right. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I see a lot of these guys coming in, especially the signings that have taken place, and there's going to be some growing pains, especially with Lauko. Played 60 games, only put up 10 points, but still young enough. He's only 24, got drafted in 2018. Okay. You bring in Yakov Trenin as well. 17 points in 76 games with the Colorado Avalanche. Again, an interesting move. Still, battling out right now with an injury, and going to be looking at maybe a late start for him this upcoming season. I don't really know what the direction of the Wild is right now, considering the fact still have Fleury. They still have him on the books right now for at least another season.
Right.
And that question of the goaltending spot, of course, you still have Carell. You've got Joel Eriksson Ek. You've got Zuccarello as well. But now you start to see some of these young guys that are going to be maybe looking to make an impact as well, including the likes of Murad. I just had it. Kuznetsov. Don't correct me. Don't quote me directly on the pronunciation of his last name. I, for the longest time, thought Kaprizov was Kaprizov, but that was very quickly dispelled. With these young guys that are going to be hopefully coming up here in the next season or so for the Wild. Again, what do you do? Do Do you make the move and go with the youth movement, or do you stay pat and hopefully the young guys or the old guys figure out maybe I should probably leave for the best for the team and help some of these young guys make that next step? There's only so much more that Wild fans can take before something's got to happen. And I mean, I'll say it. This might be a make or break year for Billy G and the Wild, especially if things don't come back that way and they don't, have a sustained playoff run of any kind. If they have another first round exit, I could very well see Bill Guerin. It could be a quick exit for him. I don't know. I don't know how much more trust that the Wild ownership group has for Bill Guerin. Believe me, I'm a Bill Guerin guy through and through, but there's only so many just missing the playoffs or getting bounced in the first round that we can take until we got to say, hey, we got to make something happen here and now, because there's only so much more we can take.
Exactly. And I think it's very imperative that they try to make something splashy, even after the season, if they decide to keep him. I mean, they'd have to completely nosedive this upcoming season. So, but we'll see. We'll see coming up.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, getting ready for the start of the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and of course, Team USA men's basketball coming together for a camp at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV, the Running Rebs. One of those players that is looking to make that jump and be a contributing factor for Team USA is the 22-year-old superstar and Minnesota Timberwolves player, that being Anthony Edwards, of course, in a star-studded lineup that's including the likes of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. You could say that Anthony Edwards is sky high right now in confidence, as quoted as saying in a press conference that took place, saying that he said that quoted as saying, "I'm still the number one option. Y'all look to look at it differently, but I don't." Saying that he is going to go out there himself, shoot his shots, play defense, and they've got to fit into play around me. That's how I feel. Love the confidence out of Ant, and especially now going into the Olympics, his first go-around with the Olympics, of course, playing in the World Cup this past year. That did not go so well for Team USA. But still love the confidence out of the young guy, of course, with a breakout season for the Timberwolves. Is it absurd or approved? Ant saying that he's the number one option on the stacked Team USA squad going into Paris here in a number of weeks.
Well, I think this can be summed up by one phrase here.
I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring your ass.
Bring your ass.
Bring it.
That's what Ant's saying here. And the confidence that this young man has is something else. And, I get that you have a bunch of players on the team that are very, very good for the Team USA. And, Ant going out and say, it doesn't surprise me. B,
right,
it's Ant. So this isn't anything that, people should take offense by. Again, if you're not a Wolves fan or whoever else is, isn't, are looking at this like, what an idiot. He thinks that he thinks that he can, say something like that and get away. It's like, this is how Ant's been ever since he got into this league. Day one. And the fact that he said that, again, are like people like, see, that's the mentality that they gotta have, and everything. It's like, yeah, and that's Ant. So him saying that, hopefully it doesn't like ruffle any feathers with any of his teammates, because I don't think it will, because they kind of know him, they understand what he is like. So you could make an argument. I'm just saying, you could make an argument for Ant here, but there's a lot of really good players on this team. You have Book, you have Steph, you have Anthony Davis, who's kind of up and down a little bit. But this team, again, like we said, they're going to get it done. They're going to win the gold no matter what. But with Ant saying this, just to answer the question, because, I think people look into this saying, like, how dare he say that, and whatnot. I don't look at it that way. some other people actually believe it. I might even believe it here. So, stamp of approval, just because it's Ant. I love it. I can't get enough of Ant. Whatever Ant content people have, send it to me because I love it. It's awesome. So,
Absolutely.
Stamp of approval. Full D, what do you got?
I love the confidence. Youngest guy on the team, you got to make a splash one way or another, especially going up against, I wouldn't say, like a very veteran-laden squad for Team USA. There's been a little bit of shuffling back and forth with the guys from, the last Olympics to now. But you see some of these young guys are going to be coming up to, you see guys like Ant, Steph Curry, who's going to be playing in his first Olympics, even though he's been in the league, what seems like for 17 years now at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kawhi Leonard is going to bow out, and Derek White's going to be stepping in for him. Joel Embiid's going to be playing for Team USA. Tyrese Halliburton, I find that one interesting just because of the youth, along with, him and Ant that did play together, I believe, in that World Cup this past year for Team USA. So a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth with how that tournament ended up being in that regard. But I definitely love the confidence, especially when you come in with some of these more experienced guys that have been in this role before with Team USA, with the Olympics, and grinding through obviously all these difficult matchups, because we know Team USA, obviously they are the top dogs in this Olympic Games. But if we've seen over the last couple of years, international game is going to be very, very interesting. Of course, you got the usual suspects. You've got Spain, you've got Argentina, you've got Canada has really come out of nowhere the last couple of years, especially with their young stacked squad that they've got. You've got
Serbia.
You've got Serbia, you've got France, you've got Lithuania. All these guys, all these teams too, are just really pick things up because we've seen how the international game has affected the NBA and all their star players coming in and being a big, big factor with their teams too. I love the confidence. There's nothing wrong with it. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that he's not the number one option. Of course, you're still going to get LeBron the ball. You're going to get Steph the ball too in a lot of different areas. But, some of when push comes to shove, you'll see the veteran experience come through. These young guys, they've got the speed. They've got they've got the pep in their step. They're going to get their points for sure. And they're definitely going to get a lot of playing time one way or another. It's got my stamp of approval big time.
The leadership on this team is key. And with LeBron kind of at the helm, he was on the Redeem team. And the way that things got going with that team was one, Kobe being Bryant. And I believe you watched the doc, right, Voldy, on Netflix?
Oh, yeah.
And the way that Kobe said, I don't care if Paul Gasol's my teammate when he was playing for Spain, I'm running through that SOB. Well, he used some other words from that instance, but he decked him, absolutely decked him. So I don't know
about the club.
It'd be interesting if LeBron did something like that, but I could see Ant do it. I mean, I really could.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But with that being said, I don't think it would come down to that. But this is very key for them. They need to win gold. I mean, if you don't get gold in this, I don't. And again, Canada, like you said, they're still they look like a good squad. They look like a very good squad. France,
it's crazy
Wemby,
too, how many
even
good
Gobert,
guys they've got on their team. It's crazy.
Wemby, Gobert for France, and then Serbia, Slovenia. No, they didn't. No, they didn't make it because their team didn't.
Greece. Let's talk about Greece as well.
Yes.
Giannis is in the mix there.
So there's a lot of teams you can't sleep on these teams, and if they do that, they're not winning gold. Just get it done. That's all I gotta say. So, but as for Ant for number one option, hell yeah, Ant's number one option. I love it. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, in our lifetime, we've seen the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby take one shift to the next. Let's throw in another one as the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby will have a different look yet again to help reduce the frantic pace that has taken place over the last few years and kind of slowing things down yet speeding things up all at the same time. So here's how the breakdown of everything is going to work out. So it's still going to be a bracket style of things when it comes to at least the overall breakdown. But the first round, it'll work like this. Obviously, the 8 hitters, top 4 will advance from that first round to the second round. If a tie will be broken by the longest home run in the first round if 2 batters are consistently tied for the number of home runs. Going from the first round to the semifinals, it'll be bracket style, 3 versus 2, 1 versus 4, based on the first round home run totals. Obviously, the final that will take place, top 2 guys from the semifinals will go to the finals as well. But here are a couple of things that have taken place and a lot more concern for the pitching style of things. In the first round and semifinals, pitchers will be limited to a 3-minute round with a total of only 40 pitches being thrown with only 1 timeout. There will be 3 bonus outs delivered with every swing that is a home run or an out, and a 425-foot home run is a bonus period that will earn a 4th bonus out. Now, going from the first and semifinals to the final round, it'll be a 2-minute round. Pitchers will be limited to only 27 pitches with 1 timeout, and same bonus rules will apply. Now, of course, with the time format that came into effect in 2015, a lot of concern, obviously, or a lot of changes with batters and participants really speeding up their process and have led to a couple of sluggish second halves, some injuries as well, not allowing to take as many swings as possible. Even this past year's Derby saw participants swing an average of more than 43 swings per round. Then you go there. If you make it all the way to the finals, that's 3 rounds. That's over 120, almost 130 swings in, say, given a 3-hour period, where some guys are only swinging maybe 10, 12 times in a total game in that regard. Now, with all the new changes that have taken place to help slow things down yet speed things up at the same time, because there have been drastic changes from over a decade period from 2014 up until now, we'll see 3 different iterations of the home run derby. With these new rules and the new format, is it absurd or approved? Will this new format help in reduce the frantic pace of the timed home run derby?
It seems like it. Now, you know what's sad is I really haven't watched it the past few years because, man, that used to be a must for me to watch the home run derby, especially when Morneau was in it. I think, yeah, Maurer was in it, right?
Maurer was in it in St. Louis, I believe it was. So 2009, 2010? 2009. Yeah. It was 2009.
Thank you. Yeah, 2009. And, you know, I'm not trying to take away from the aura of it. I just have lost interest in it. He's, you know, kind of around then. But now, maybe this helps. The bonus, I like the bonus thing, though. Like, 425-foot home run, the bonus period earns a 4th bonus out. So that's kind of cool. I think that's something that's a little bit different and out of the box, too. But I really don't have a big issue. And, again, there's been a lot of stupid ideas the MLB has had, and we've talked about it numerous times. But I like this because now you have rounds where you don't have to swing as much. You don't have to be, you know, frantically, you know, finish up with the time and whatnot. So this I don't mind. I really don't mind, and I'll probably try and watch it. I believe Pete Alonso is in it, and then Gunnar Henderson too, Voldy, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
For the Orioles, is Vladdy Guerrero Jr. in it now? Or
I believe he is not.
Oh,
or he might be. He very well could be. Yeah, Pete Alonso is back. Gunnar Henderson, Adolis Garcia from Texas.
Okay.
Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto, or is he in Toronto still? I think so. I think he's in Toronto.
Have to ask Coach.
But yes. Yeah, he is in the mix as well. They just unveiled the matchups and, you know, how it's all going to play out. So there'll be some heavy hitters in the home run derby this year.
I haven't seen a twin in the home run derby in years. I feel like
probably
Morneau, right? Or Dozier.
Dozier.
Okay.
It's the same year, actually, I think, in 2014. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's insane.
Get Correa in there. Screw it. Well, it's too late now, but still.
Yeah, no kidding. So I guess we'll see what happens. So yeah, stamp approval. I think it's fine. Voldy, what do you think?
I miss the days, and I'm going to sound very boomer right now. The home run derby should take no longer than 7 hours to complete, because the home run derby, in all its beauty, should be the longest spectacle in sport. Because everything nowadays is always about speeding things up, moving things along. How can you speed up something that was already sped up to now say, no, we're going to try to slow things down. We're going to, do less. You're doing less. At the same time, guys are still going to be, for lack of a better term, swinging for the fences. And yes, pun intended with that. It's just, I think a lot more strategy is going to go into it, because I've already seen, I believe, Bobby Witt Jr., he's another guy that's going to be in the home run derby. He's actually, instead of having his dad throw to him, he's having his brother-in-law, James Russell, former relief guy for the Chicago Cubs and Texas Rangers as well. He's going to be throwing to him. So a former major league pitcher, going to be throwing, obviously, BP to his brother-in-law. So there's a lot more strategy that goes into that, as opposed to the old days where Josh Hamilton found, the guy that threw him BP in high school, and he's hitting, 75 home runs in the first round that took 3 hours to complete. That is the home run derby. I miss that. I think, if anything, they need to get the kids out of the outfield, because these guys are hitting balls 120 miles per hour, and I've seen the last couple of years a couple kids take some off the dome on line drives because they're kids. If anything, they should get drunk idiots to shag balls in the outfield and see if they can try a rob one or two. That'd be even more hilarious. The change, I think, is very interesting, especially the way that pitching injuries have really risen through the last couple of seasons, if not this year, more drastically. Now they're taking pitches away. They're saying you need to slow down. You only get 3 minutes, a maximum of 40 pitches. Well, say you hit 40 pitches at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Are you done? I mean, first off, that's a crazy number to even get to that high that quickly, but it's crazy to even think about if a guy just gets into a real groove and a real rhythm. You've got 45 seconds left and you're already maxed out on pitches. Well, you just stand there until the time runs out, or are you just done from that point? I'll have to watch it. I've lost interest like you the last couple of years. I watched the first couple of years with the new time format and everything. I thought it was a very novelty. It was a very niche thing. But now it's just like, all right, well, this is going to be done in an hour and a half. I miss the days where the home run derby would start at 7:00, and it would be a race to see if it got done before midnight. It was just that much fun to watch. I know I was certainly hooked from beginning to end. Yeah. Now it's just like, if you miss it, nobody really cares. I know that the home run derby has become a little less of a spectacle. I miss the days as well. You didn't know who was going to be in the home run derby till like the day or two before. Now they've got the whole matchups lined up, and they've got a week plus until the home run derby itself is fully going to be taking place and all happening. I remember one year, I think it was in Anaheim when the Angels hosted 2010. Nick Swisher was a guy in the final vote, and he was in the home run derby, and he literally got there like not even 24 hours before and said, all right, I'll do the home run derby. Screw it. Just barely got here. Might as well take in the full experience. He didn't win. I mean, he was out in the first round, but hey, it was a great experience nonetheless.
Yeah.
They keep changing things so regularly. It feels like the timed home run derby happened like 20 years ago. It hasn't even been 10 years, and they're already changing it again.
True. It's
completely absurd. I am not a fan of it. Is it going to slow things down? Sure. It'll probably, it'll still be done in like 2.5 hours. It'll get done fast. It'll get done right around the time, most baseball games get done nowadays. I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. It's completely different from when it was back then. So,
God, we sound old, don't we?
Yeah, we sound old. Oh, They're only 30 years old, and apparently.
Yep.
It's just crazy. All right. A guy that's possibly going to be retiring soon. Next one, Voldy.
Well, LeBron James will wear a Lakers jersey this season. Which one? Nonetheless, that's right. We're talking both LeBron Jameses, Bronny James and Dad LeBron James will be suiting up for the Los Angeles Lakers one way or another. Of course, with LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, if you will, getting drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers with the 55th pick in the second round of the 2024 NBA draft. Now helped get him, obviously, after a, we'll say, lackluster freshman season in Los Angeles with USC, but is now going to be played a couple of games so far with the Summer League team in LA, but being pulled out due to concerns with knee and inflammation, things along that sort. But that also laid the groundwork of the return of LeBron James Sr. That's right. LeBron James will be back with the Los Angeles Lakers for another couple of seasons as well. I believe a 2-year extension, $101.35 million. Not a max contract, but a less than max deal for LeBron James, now shooting for taking him through his 23 seasons in the NBA, which would break a record of 22 seasons held by Vince Carter, who retired a few seasons ago. But will still be just below the max deal, which was set to be $104 million for the veteran that was for LeBron James. But taking that money and allowing the Lakers to maybe look at bringing in another couple of veterans over the couple of seasons to hopefully make a run and even quite possibly bring another title to Los Angeles and the Lakers franchise. Now with Bronny and LeBron back with the Lakers, I should say LeBron James back with the Lakers, Bronny with the Lakers after being drafted. Is it absurd or approved? Just going to throw it out there right here for us. Will LeBron and Bronny both play together this season with the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yes, because they'll be pressured into it, because that's how it goes. But I think it will. I think that they'll give the people what they want. Him signing the max deal, LeBron, for instance here, I think this is interesting. And the reason why I say that is because he kind of he's like, I'm willing to take a pay cut if we, go out and get, a DeMar DeRozan or get DeMar DeRozan or get someone along the lines of, like a Jimmy Butler through trade or something like that. Well, none of that happened. The Lakers are kind of stuck with what they got. And again, it comes down to adding that extra firepower to this team that they desperately need. And unfortunately, they're not able to. But adding with that, Bronny being taken by the Lakers doesn't surprise me. Right. You pair him with his dad, and that's great. I don't have a problem with that at all, really. I just, the thing that is kind of interesting to me, though, is like, they're saying like, oh, we're going to draft the best player, and stuff like that. But they kind of bought into that whole thing. And I think LeBron had an influence. And, people will say, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Laker fans, no, he didn't. They're going to be amazing. Things like that. I think he definitely had an influence. I mean, the poor guy, and again, with his heart condition especially, and some injuries that have come up with Bronny James, are concerning a little bit. But I think this makes sense because you're with your dad, you're with some of these other guys as well. I can see this being fairly good for both him and his son LeBron and his son Bronny. So I think they're gonna play together, Voldy. I think they'll play together. They'll be on the same court. Someone's gonna throw a lob. They're gonna dunk it. Things like that. That's about all I can really say with it. So stamp of approval. It's gonna happen. Voldy, what do you think?
I think that it'll definitely happen one way or another. I think this season, we don't know the future, what holds with LeBron, obviously past this season, the window is closing on it. He could still go out there. He can just go out there and play. It's ridiculous how well he can still do it even in his age nowadays and still be obviously talked about as one of the top players in the game, even at age 39. I mean, it's crazy to even think about. Most guys in the past, 5-10 years when they hit 39, if they're even still playing, they're not the same player. Vince Carter at the back end of his career, I wouldn't say he was a sideshow act, but he wasn't the Vince Carter that we saw in the early 2000s
Right.
as well. He was a freak of a human being. But I think with LeBron and Bronny, obviously we know that, Bronny only put up, 2 points per game or something like that at USC in his freshman year. And then, recovering from the heart condition, they get medically cleared for the draft combine, and then really impressing a lot of eyes, considering the fact he hadn't played competitively in a number of months. Now at this point with him and his burgeoning career, if they, keeping him healthy enough, and obviously he got pulled out of a few games out of the summer league just to be as major precautions as possible. Could it lead to him getting some action in the Lakers? Really all depends on how the start of the season takes place. I'm more interested in the fact of if it does come out that Bronny and LeBron are on the floor together as well. I remember a few months ago, I listened to a podcast, I believe it was The Pivot, with Ryan Clark, Freddie T, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder. They had Ken Griffey Jr. on as well. And Griffey did say that if LeBron and Bronny do play together, him and his dad, Griffey Sr., are going to be sitting courtside watching LeBron and Bronny. I want to see that happen for sure, because obviously they were the first two in Major League Baseball to play together same time, and they hit home runs back-to-back as well. I want to see that come to fruition, especially with Griffey and Griffey Sr., if that happens or not. Now, it's kind of one of those you don't really know, because, Bronny can be on the team, but he's not going to play unless the starting lineup is announced, well in advance, which probably the Lakers would do to draw more tickets and more sales. It'll be like, hey,
Right.
They're going to play on this game together. It's going to be 3 weeks from now, so everybody can get their tickets and everything. It's going to be very interesting to see. Will they play together some point in the season? It's got my stamp of approval. I think the Lakers need as much, show business they can get, especially with Rob Pelinka, Genie Bus still running things as well. They need as much butts and seats as they can get.
That is very true. We'll see how it plays out, Cotton. All right. Last ARA Volde.
Well, of course, we are less than a double-digit number of days away, if not down to a week, I believe. No, we're still about 9 days away from the release of EA Sports College Football 25 back in our lives. We've only been talking about it since the start of the 2024 calendar year. And, well, one person that came out and said that he wasn't going to be a part of the game because he wanted to, quote, focus on football, Texas backup quarterback Archmanning, of course, of the Throwing Mannings as well, has come out and released a video, of course, on his social media, on his app formerly known as Twitter on X, saying that he will be a part and has opted in for the EA Sports College Football 25. Of course, the video that did take place, him and one of his uncles, that being two-time Super Bowl champion and former New York Giants quarterback Eli Manning, did put out that he will be a part of the NCAA College Football 25 game. Of course, we knew that when the announcement did come out that players would be able to get, I believe, $600 and a copy of the game, that Arch Manning was quoted as saying that he is going to opt out so he can focus on football. With everything that led from that conversation to now, is it absurd or approve the decision for Arch Manning to opt back into the game, now with it being little over a week and some change until the game is officially dropped?
Well, I guess I don't have a problem with it either way. The people have been waiting on it, and the fact that, and this number's insane. You just said this, but more than 10,000 players have opted into the game. I mean, that is here. I mean, it's Unbelievable. And that's how badly we've missed this game. I, for one, and yes, I'm going to admit it, I did pre-order the game, and hopefully we'll be getting the game here soon and whatnot. It has been a long time since I've seen that wonderful game. It is such a great game, and compared to Madden, I'm getting off base here, but I'll stick to Arch. But Archmanning, yeah, it's fine. I don't know. I just originally say, well, I want to focus on football. Well, I'm changing my mind. I'm gonna get in it. And it's like, okay, well, you just said that you're gonna focus on football, and now you're saying, well, no, I'm gonna be in the game. It's really not that big of a deal. If you just, all you got to do is say, yeah, I want to be in the game. Okay, great. We'll give you $600, and then guess what? You get a copy of the game. It's fine with me. It's like, are you going to be so tempted to play it? That's kind of my thing. Maybe he was very tempted to play it and whatnot, but he's like, I want to resist temptation. But now it's like, well, no, he's in, and everything's fine and dandy, so... Yeah, I mean, it's got my stamp of approval. It's fine. Even if he didn't, I wouldn't really hold anything against, like, oh, I'm going to focus on this. It's like, all right, that's your preference. You go right ahead. But with this, I don't see why you wouldn't. I just don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, what's the big deal? You're getting $600 and a copy of the game? Shoot, I want to be in the game. I want to be in the game. So we could have a MinneZona pre-show. No, I'm just kidding. That would take away from ESPN College Game Day and all that stuff. But with that being said, yeah, stamp of approval. It's fine with me. I'm glad he's in the game, and you can play as Archmanning. And it seems like he's starting to kind of get into a rhythm here, apparently, from the spring game. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think it's all branding is what it is.
Yep.
Obviously, you're setting up Archmanning for the future. Him saying initially that he was out of the game and that he's going to focus on football, and to now coming back. I mean, this is all branding when it comes down to it. And now he's going to get $600 and a copy of the game. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the game. If anything, this is all coming down to setting him up for the future. Obviously, he's going to be entering the season as a backup to Quinn Ewers, was looking at, obviously being, looking to move forward to the professional level after this upcoming season. I don't know. We'll see. But still, looking to set himself up for the future for when Ewers does leave, that he will be, obviously, the guy. I mean, he did get a little bit of action this season, not very much. Did impress a lot with the spring game this past season as well. Few months ago with the University of Texas. Again, this is all just a marketing ploy, and that's what we're now officially at. Of course, through the whole NIL and obviously setting themselves up to get that money in college before they get to the professional level. I just wonder if this was the plan the whole time. Say, hey, we're going to opt out. We're going to say that you're going to focus on football. 6 months later, boom, we're going to slap you right on there a week before it comes out. I just wonder how much how much it's going to take for EA Sports to say, okay, well, now we got to put Manning on the back of everything. He's now a part of it and all that. Or if it's just like 3 clicks and an enter, if that's all they got to do to make it happen. If it's that easy, I don't understand why everybody else should just not opt into it to begin with. I'm sure at this point now, with it being, literally showtime a week and some change from now, I'm sure it's not going to take much for EA Sports to opt them back in. I just think, unfortunately, the marketing side of everything, it was very well played. I just wish it would have been Peyton instead of Eli getting most of the screen time as well. But again, nonetheless, I think it's all a marketing ploy. Is it absurd or approved? I think from a marketing standpoint, it's got my stamp of approval. You really had us on the edge of our seat this whole time. No, not really. But still, smart businessman right there, even at the tender young age that he is at right now. Hell of a lot smarter than we were in college. Speak for myself.
No, just kidding.
Yeah. Maybe. I'll speak for myself. Hell of a lot smarter at that age than I was. That's for damn sure.
Well, did they call SMSU games? I don't think so. I think they were pretty smart when that happened. So, patting ourselves on the back. No, all in good fun. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. You're on the game. Everyone's happy. It's fine. So,
Yep.
I can't wait for the game, though. I'm really looking forward to playing it and doing all the game modes and stuff like that. So, it'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
For sure.
That'll do it for Observe or Approve this week. Great job, as always, Voldy. And we got some shield shoutouts tonight. Especially being off for a week, we got to get you some shield shoutouts. So let's get it going. Like I said, with some shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, of course, we do have to send a Shield shout out. Best of luck in retirement to former Boston Celtics great and, of course, a college basketball legend, Kembawalker. That being Cardiac Kemba with a K, the all-time leading scorer for the Charlotte Hornets of all teams, and, of course, led UConn to the 2011 NCAA National Tournament. Of course, a legendary run that they did have back in 2011 with playing 5 games in 5 days or something absurd like that in the Big East tournament to win it all. And, of course, winning in dramatic fashion for the time for the UConn Huskies. For old Cardiac Kemba, hanging them up after his time ended in the NBA, took his talents overseas, now officially retiring from basketball. And, of course, we've got a lot still in store coming up here next week with big episode number 200. I hope a lot of people will tune in for that because we've got big giveaways that we're going to be doing as well. So certainly do want to send, of course, a big forewarning to everybody. And, of course, the shirt that I'm wearing here tonight as well in honor of the late Shane Sellner as well, former teammate of mine and friend of ours at Southwest Minnesota State, the baseball program, the Waterville Indians. That came in this week. So I'm glad I'm able to represent this and helping in a time of much need for the Sellner family, of course, his wife and now family as well, in anything that we can do to help out. Luckily enough, I was able to get these in here this past week and sending our love and thoughts, of course, to the Sellner family at this time. Any little possible way to help out a great guy in Shane Sellner, that was a great teammate at Southwest. My time there, his time that he had after I left school after graduating. So that's going to do it for Shield shoutouts here this week.
All right. Great Shield shoutouts as always, Voldy.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned it, episode 200 coming up next week in the new studios of Lexington Heights. And giveaways, like you said, we got giveaways happening. We won't reveal specifically what we're giving away just because you guys could probably guess, but it's a surprise. So again, you never know what you're going to get. The deal, too, that we will have a link out live for people to come in. We would love to see your face, love to chat with you. And, again, that goes for anybody. And bear with us, too, because there's probably going to be a lot of people that come in. Bear with us.
Let's hope there's a lot of people.
And the thing is when people come in, we'll chat for a little bit, but then we also got to keep it rolling too. So then we'll do our giveaways, see how people do, and it'll be fun. And it will be, and I forgot to say as well, is that table topics are in play here. If you answer the trivia question right, it'll be Minnesota sports, like per usual.
Yeah.
And if you get it right, you get the giveaway. So that's kind of the deal for that, to keep that in mind as you're going through this. And make sure that you have what you need. And just chat with us. Let's talk some sports. Let's kind of go from there. So bear with us. Yeah, if you call in, we will wait for you. And we will try to get everybody in as much as possible. So can't wait. And congratulations, I forgot to mention, to unfortunately, Matt Metzler for winning this. Yes, a Packer fan when the wheel betrayed us. There's nothing much I can say. You will be getting the 4th of July hat that we have here, as I'm wearing right now.
We should have just given it to Justin Jefferson like we spun the wheel the first time.
Yeah.
Dang it!
Damn it. We were that close too, and I knew I shouldn't have done that. I knew I shouldn't have done. But
Curse the gods.
yep. No, that's just kind of how it is. Speaking of which, Justin Jefferson, real quick, the Receiver is out on Netflix right now.
Yep.
I am probably going to be watching that as we get done with the show, because there are some things in that in that Receiver thing that you don't normally hear or see, and that involves one KOC. So I can't wait. I've been trying to avoid stuff, but I'm gonna try to watch it tonight. So we'll have to check that out. You guys know the deal, though. If you want to just buy merch, we got merch for you. We got the sweatpants, we got the quarter zips, we got the tumblers, we've got the stickers, we got the shirts, we got the hats. You know the whole deal with the hats. Oh, there's some cool stuff that we'll be giving to you guys next week. But if you want to pay for it, you know the deal. You need the prices, we'll give them to you. So we'll get that out to you, and we'll go from there. And shout out to W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. He's doing some awesome things as of late, so make sure you check out our guy. And make sure you check out, or thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for everything, for the stickers, and then the victorious P.O.D., the victorious P.O.D., Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. Fantasy football is quickly approaching, so make sure you check that out. TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., and also check out Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, and Ryne Myhrberg. He is back after a couple weeks hiatus, but he is back with Nick this past week, and I think he'll probably be on the newest episode too. So make sure you check that out. Omni Entertainment Popcorn Bucket List. So with that being said, another reminder: 200th episode next week. Make sure you guys chime in. We'd love to see your smiling faces, and we're really looking forward to having you guys on. We're gonna celebrate. We may have some MinneZona trivia to throw in there as well. Ooh. I've got some ideas for some stuff too, so we're gonna have a lot of fun, and we thank you, the zoners, as well. And we'll, we will make sure you guys have a fun time. We're gonna have a fun time as well, so it'll be awesome. So, with that being said, that's gonna do it for episode 199. Next week, we'll see you for 200. Let's get it going. I'm stoked. I know that Kirko is stoked, even though he is not a Viking, but it is what it is. But I'm just about that action, bro. We're just about that action, boss. So with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.